Hello, let's dive into another one of our gatherings. Today, with the upcoming date in mind, I've picked a really special theme, which is the future that begins now. I know your first thought might be, well, what future is starting now? It won't change anything. Yes, it will change. We are approaching two dates that hold significance within the calendar we follow, at least in the West, since our birth. Often, we make the mistake of thinking that what is real only on the psychic plane has a lesser degree of reality than everything else. The new year is just for the Christian West. The new year has evolved over the years, and I am not sure what else. Okay, I know this story. However, the fact that repeatedly throughout your life, in this period, there is a landmark for the restart of a new cycle, makes a difference. It is ingrained in us. The realities, my friends, are much more on the subtle plane than on the concrete. A psychic reality carries much more weight in our lives than physical facts in general. They set the course, so it is ingrained in us that nature is cyclical, and that is a fact, and that this marks the end of a cycle in our lives, which are not that many, and we will never know when it is the last one. And within our Western calendar, two dates during this period, which I think is very fitting to be so close, because one is Christmas, which is a time of rebirth, and the other is the New Year, which is a time to renew, and they are two fundamental elements at the start of each cycle. Even the mornings, they repeat this magic of beginnings. Every morning would be like having a new opportunity again, a blank canvas before us, to rewrite our lives on a new foundation, taking the maturity of what was learned in the past, but purifying the tools, taking a fresh look at a new day, and starting to rebuild on higher foundations, on better foundations. This is part of life. The eternal return is a reality, and we create a psychological reality that tells us that the time to end one cycle and start another is now. It is important that we keep this in mind. This shapes reality. Another important thing is that everyone should be thinking, which is not without basis, look, things will only really change when this pandemic ends. Because while we're in the thick of it, I don't know how much time we have left. It won't change anything. This is also not far from the truth, but the two things can be considered together. I'm going to get myself ready in this year's renewal to a different life when this pandemic ends. A life that starts over, taking all the experience that has been accumulated as my own experience, so that I can walk on a different foundation, more human at a greater level, a higher consciousness, so we can plan for the new year. Considering what we will do starting January 1st, yes, but also considering how we are going to prepare for the aftermath of the pandemic, how we are going to return to our shared time, which will never be the same as it was before. We won't go back to normal. As I have been talking so much, we will have to create a new normal. How is it going to be? So this is a time for deep reflections. Do not let this chance slip by. It is like nature crafted the perfect stage for us to step in and live this experience, which we all need. We all need to pause and take to heart all that has been done so far. Compare everything we do with our sense of purpose in life and see if we're heading in the right direction. Questioning even the aspect of what the meaning of my life is, or if I have one or just personal projects. It is time for reassessment. Don't let this chance slip by. So I have brought some topics here that might be useful for you in our rebuilding process, which every new year gives us the chance to do. Our years of life are limited, are not that many. That is, if you live 70 or 80 years. 1 year is 170th of your life. It is great for us to hone our skills, choose the best, and start anew. It is no small thing. It is no small thing. It is something to be taken seriously. This opportunity to start over. Shall we get started then? There is a popular saying that goes, Every cloud has a silver lining. Now, this does happen in nature. It rained a lot here in Brasilia not too long ago. It passes, then comes the beautiful rainbow, and the sky clears up a bit. Maybe it will rain again today. But it gives that opening that makes it seem like the situation has improved, right? Nature has calmed down. This is a process that nature faithfully carries out. Does not need our interference. Now this human peace, that is, this human renewal, depends on us. There is no law of nature that forces us to do so. There is one of my lectures, called Origin of Modern Celebrations, where I discuss about it, that the human spring is an achievement of human consciousness. It is not enough to just sit and wait for the rebirth season to arrive. We decide when our spring will be, because it is an achievement of consciousness. External nature has already embraced its spring. Now it is necessary for human nature to conquer its own, each one individually. So, is tranquility really on its way? Or do we have to create it ourselves? We definitely have to build it. I have been browsing the internet because I thought it was interesting to do so. The prospects for the post-pandemic period, for the future, the benefits that can be envisioned for this, what we will have to tackle later on. I drew a comparison, finding many common points from more reputable sites that project something meaningful for the future. And I put together a compilation here. I even included the address of the main site I used, if you want to check it out online. Some of these common yet debatable projections. Why do I say these projections are debatable? Because they are highlighted as positive things, and they are actually dual in nature. They have to be considered in that light. There was one of them that I took as the most promising, but the others are dual, promising on one hand and concerning on the other. Shall we take a look at some of these projections for the future? The first is the 21st century will be the age of technology. Will it be? Well, for me, the age of technology kicked off back in the latter half of the 20th century, where it really took off and has been speeding up over time. And we have been at it for quite a while now. This isn't anything new. The age of technology is being developed very well and at an incredible pace. But as I often mention in several of my lectures, human civilization is a structure supported by two pillars, one of them being the things that humans create, and the other, what humans build within themselves, the development of the individual, the creation of things. And we advance from the perspective of developing processes of highly technological objects, and the development of ourselves is long overdue. And there comes a certain moment when this imbalance is so great that it risks collapsing the very foundation of our civilization. We need to pause and find some balance. I'm not saying we should stop fully. Technology won't stop. But we have to pay very specific attention to this aspect of human development. I gave another talk recently where I discussed what we can value during this pandemic journey up until now. The virtues that brought us to this point is the title of the lecture. And I talked about how humans, in many instances, have shown themselves to be brutal and as barbaric as a Genghis Khan, or an Attila, or the Huns of old, exploiting poverty, of human misery, human hardship, to profit in the midst of a crisis of such proportions, like the one we experienced. Around the world, there was opportunism. So everything we have experienced shows us that now we need to reach not just the age of technology, but the age of balance, where the human element has to be taken into account. We have to take human development very seriously. Otherwise, we will face increasing disparity, and soon we will have individuals who are morally very basic, very low in terms of conscience, with dangerous technology at their fingertips. This goes against humanity. Therefore, I believe much more in an era of balance, though I do not deny the technology. I see its benefits when it is used well. However, balance is essential. Therefore, I would prefer to think about the future in the 21st century as the age of balance. Another point, there will be remote work, distance education. All of this is already here. We experienced this very intensely during the pandemic. And it was necessary. There was no room for debate. It had to be done, simple. But we know lots of people have already announced that they will not return to in-person. Why? Because the expenses are much lower. You will maintain a property you will keep. The upkeep of that property, the servers that operate there to keep it running, all of this is costly, and many people are planning to stick with remote work and even remote education. I don't think it is going back. Well, is that good? Yes, there are good things, just like you're experiencing now. I am here with you, and we are remote. There is a lot of good stuff in this process. However, it has a contraindication. That needs to be taken seriously. Even more so, we're unlearning how to coexist as humans. This is quite a risky factor. We were already appealing, living every day in the work environment, every day in a classroom. Now that I am in front of a computer, and if you annoy me, I can just hit stop or change the channel. It gets more complicated because we're becoming more immature. To handle the challenges of living together that really are needed to smooth out the rough edges and achieve harmony. Because we came for this, to achieve harmony within ourselves and harmony with others, harmony with the whole. So this is an aspect that needs to be considered. I will work remotely. I will educate myself remotely. What space is there for me to live with others so that I can learn with them, so that I don't feel like I have all the answers, so that I can learn to listen to one another, to consider their perspective, so that I can grow through living together. This is also something that we will have to seriously consider. Otherwise, our ability to handle conflicts will be weakened. We are becoming more intolerant, and this is serious. What else? Most responsible companies from a social perspective. This is a fact. Companies are responding. Doing it due to pressure, either from the laws or from public opinion? Or is it because there's truly an awareness? I have talked about this a lot with business people at several events I have participated in. Is it out of fear of the anti-corruption law? Or is it out of concern for people's well-being? Is it to look good in front of the media, in front of public opinion? Or is it because there was a realization that the human being is an important factor and that has to be considered as an end and not just a means? If it is not an awareness, it is just a trend, which can revert to the same starting point. It does not mean a necessary displacement. Another thing that pops up as a trend is the review of consumption habits. Have you heard about it? It is the story that now less is more. Why that? Because there is a trend that says, it is trendy these days to keep things minimal. Use the least amount of accessories to dress in a way. I do not see, and sorry if I'm being skeptical, I do not see this as an awareness of what is truly essential. I see it as just a passing trend. The same person who strips themselves of adornments today, tomorrow might rush to the stores to use them all again. If fashion shifts that way, a genuine divestment is when you no longer place as much value on external things, because you have started to value the internal ones more. I do not see it that way. I just see it as another social fad. Therefore, it is just a temporary phenomenon, and not an actual shift in consciousness. What else is being highlighted? The creation of open commerce, delivery, and remote sales spaces. Yes, it is convenient and interesting, no doubt. But we realize that another element of distance is created, meaning we no longer need to be with others. Not even when we're shopping or going to a restaurant. Everything is about delivery and remote purchasing, one less point of coexistence. On the other hand, another space for new scams, to new forms of theft, leading to more fear and a greater need for security. Because that too is progressing, and it is happening fast at an incredible speed to keep up with the increased availability of online currency circulation. This has grown by leaps and bounds. Practically, when you create a space, you also create an opportunity, the way to infiltrate and exploit that space and take advantage of it. It is a complicated issue that needs to be considered. What else? We have online shows and performances. That is good too. Recently, I took part in the launch of a play that I wrote, which was Helena Blavatsky, The Voice of Silence, online. It was wonderful, but for all of us who participated, In this launch, there was a sense of anticipation. When will we be able to be with people again? Especially theater and many other activities, a show. Be with the person, seeing her emotion infused in what she is doing right at that moment. It is something that often, well, as a temporary measure, as a resource, as a plausible alternative at that moment, perfect. But if it is always just that, we certainly experience a significant impoverishment of art there by removing the human element. The seek for new knowledge. For sure, and there's already a list. This site even provides a list of what will emerge as a professional demand in the post-pandemic world. That is, will people seek new knowledge? Because they are eager to dive deeper? To get to know themselves better? The other, the world, the history? No, they will chase after the new professions that bring in the money. That is not really knowledge. This is information. It is almost like an intellectual investment. It is not even information. Who is seeking more knowledge because they are eager to learn a bit about themselves, about humanity's past. Want to know what the books in the history of humanity say that can help in your life? Has it increased? No, it hasn't. I do not see any sign pointing in that direction. So I would not say to search for new knowledge. Seek the same kind of knowledge, just repackaged with a new cover. And finally, there is an item on this list that I truly believe is worthwhile. It was mentioned that there will be a strengthening of values like solidarity and empathy. So yeah, that would be promising. But I cannot say I did not quite understand why there was the projection and the premise that this will be strengthened. I get tired of saying that we will only get out of this if we are together, because the social crisis, which will be knocking at our doors, once we get out of the public health crisis, it is going to be serious. And we won't break out of our bubbles of selfishness. It won't work. But if the person is motivated and getting ready for it, I have my big doubts. Forgive me, I believe in humanity. But I am clear-headed about what I am witnessing in the present moment, and I don't see this progress happening at the speed that would be necessary. That would be very promising. That would be very necessary for it to be promoted right now. So throughout the crisis, I suggested one act of generosity a day. Not just because this is needed now, but also because you have to build the muscle of generosity. We will see. I believe we are still far behind with what history will demand of us in relation to that matter. This element of strengthening empathy and solidarity has a demand, has a prerequisite. And that's pretty interesting. I always talk about it. When I talk about planning for the new year, that we ask for things, but we don't ask for the raw material of those things. Any individual, personal, psychological achievement has prerequisites. Don't you think that a person who lives a selfish life gives time to another person, focused on her personal interests, addicted to seeking more and more comfort and nothing else, will awaken with solidarity and empathy? This has a number of prerequisites behind it. For example, a significant victory over selfishness. Every time I make a decision, I think, how can this decision of mine benefit more people than me, more lives than mine, more skins besides mine? Have I done it? This is a prerequisite for solidarity and empathy, breaking down the barriers of selfishness and closing these walls day by day with perseverance and consistency so that we can truly cultivate a mindset that usually turns towards others and be able to place ourselves in the psychological framework of the other. Another element, understanding oneself in order to understand others. As I have been saying a lot, empathy is not putting yourself in someone else's shoes. Because with my worldview, with my biases, if I put myself in others' shoes, I will see everything differently from how they see it. It is about understanding the psychological framework the other person is. Immerse yourself in the way the other person sees things. For that there has to be a need to realize that my way of seeing, it is not the true or superior one. It is just one perspective, and that the vision of others can enrich me. And if we have this connection, We can create a synthesis where we both grow. But the prerequisite is to have this perception of yourself in the first place. One who is superficial in relation to themselves, to their own identity, will not be profound in relation to others. This is a fantasy. That is, a process of observing yourself more. See the footprints you are leaving in the world. Realize if your thoughts are truly your own. To choose a purpose, a meaning of life that is truly yours and genuinely human. Measure your thoughts, feelings, and actions towards that goal. It is a lifelong journey, a lifelong job to roll up your sleeves and start working more seriously on self-awareness. And thus you gain depth. And you can be profound with one another. Empathy, I am sorry, but a superficial person. I do not believe she can be empathetic. She isn't even deep with herself. I don't believe she can be empathetic. What else? Make peace with life. Give it a vote of confidence. Reaching a certain point, we will discuss it later. And say, okay, it was what it was. That is what I needed. I got the message, we are at peace. As the poet Amado Nervo says, life, you owe me nothing. Life, we are at peace. And from here, with everything, you have taught me, let's see what comes next. I trust you. I trust that what you gave me was exactly what I needed to live for. Got it. Got the message at least as best I could. I will keep analyzing all this and learning more and more. But we have settled our scores. Now let's move forward. I trust you. Let's see what you bring me now. Make peace with life. Stop thinking that life is just a bunch of randomness and that you are a victim. This is a childish perspective. I would not even call it a soap opera perspective, because even soap operas are sometimes a little more mature than that. We are not pawns in the hands of blind and sadistic forces. Nature has an order, and we are tremendously responsible for what it brings us. What else? Develop your identity and the ability to support your own ideas. Well, now I'm going to check it out. I am going to tidy up the house. Aren't you one of those who cleans the closet on New Year and considers what you can donate? See what no longer serves you? Do you do a home inspection? Review the psychological, spiritual, and moral house. Let's toss out a lot of junk. Let's clean this up here and let's start filling it with things that are truly mine. I am carrying with me the dogmas of the world. I made a joke a while back, which I recommend for you all. Philosophers joke, always coming up with new ideas, right? They have carpenter's bug, as my grandmother used to say, to pick up the prejudices that have existed throughout history. Make a list of them, the main ones, and look inside myself to see if there's no root of these dogmas, of these mistaken thoughts still inside me. Look, let me tell you something. If you look hard enough, you will find something there. I have always found it absurd for positivism to claim that the scientific age was superior to the old age just because it had more machines. You will look every now and then. You'll find a little root there, thinking that a person who knows how to use a computer is better prepared for life than someone who doesn't. You find it, even if it is something insignificant, that you need to recognize in order to cleanse. You will find a little piece, a remnant, of humanity's nonsense. Much more recent, right? But throughout history, you will find a residue inside you. All right, let's clean this up. Let's define what my principles are and what derives from these principles. What is my own thinking? It'll clean up what does not belong to me. Return to each what is theirs and hold on to what's mine. And if there is not much, I will start building from here on out. They are the assumptions you need to do what's necessary. Solidarity and empathy, which is exactly what this moment calls for. Well, the foundation of this transformation, one of them, an element that I think is very rigid, that we do not notice so much, and that it is essential for us to fight against it, is learning to develop the win-together mentality. This might sound silly, but it is actually quite serious. It has been absorbed and is deeply rooted in us. We only find joy when we win at the expense of everyone else's defeat. We take pleasure in being first on the podium. Everyone else has to be in second, third, fourth, 10th, even millionth place. Everyone has to be beneath me for my gain to have any value. My victory in life, my success, depends on the failure of others. That is terrible. It is something that is deeply ingrained. This thing must be at the cellular level. It was so deeply embedded within us. Learn to win together. This is practice. In my work team, we all collaborate effectively. And we did an exceptional job. All of us. This is just as rewarding as if I had done the best job of all, and others had done a lesser job. It is more fun because it means we experienced collective growth. We all grew up together. And putting these two situations together isn't just for show. Because saying this is beautiful. I would rather grow up with everyone than grow up alone. It is beautiful, it gets attention. However, it is not real. Close your bedroom door and stand in front of the mirror and say to yourself, would I feel the same pleasure in both situations? If you do not feel it, start working with your imagination to create situations like that where you feel the same satisfaction of winning together. This is about overcoming the roots of selfishness, what the Tibetan tradition calls the heresy of separateness. We will have to work with it. And how will I develop solidarity and empathy if, in fact, I am rooting for everything to go wrong, or worse than me so that I can claim some victory? This is a contradiction. This won't happen. So it is the element that might be one of the worst forms of prejudice. In fact, I often say that the root of all prejudice is selfishness. Imagine yourself, close your eyes and think, I am the best human being in the world. Everything that concerns me is better than others. Then you open your eyes and you'll see which people you belong to, which religion, which gender, etc., etc., and you will choose what is yours as superior to what belongs to others. I can combat prejudice in its manifestation. If I don't tackle it at the root, I will just make room for other forms to arise. Because I did not eliminate the root of that weed. I just trimmed a branch. Then, there it is also selfishness. If we do not seriously address these manifestations of thinking that happiness and fulfillment means being better than others, it is about achieving more success than others. It is about gaining prominence. This prominence is a pretty cynical word, isn't it? Because it is like there was a jigsaw puzzle, and you have taken out one piece and only that piece rose up. The ones that did not stand out were down there, consumed by envy. We need to take a moment to think about this. Take it seriously, otherwise it won't work. What is it that we are really aiming for? Fraternity, solidarity, and empathy? It won't work. It is impractical. This is serious work. This is planning to have the raw material of what you want to build with maturity. Learning to appreciate what humanizes us, rejecting the opposite. It is what Plato referred to as character formation. We will have to take this character thing seriously too. We are tired of making this accusation. So-and-so and bad character. So-and-so doesn't have good character. Let's dive into what character really means. According to the Platonic foundation, get your impulses to like certain things and reject others, which are natural impulses, and educate yourself to reject what brutalizes you, what dehumanizes you, and embrace what enhances your consciousness as a human being. That integrates more values into your life. Now, these are not values that are just on display. They are values that are within me, and I respond to life with them because they are part of me. Integrate values. We should like everything that takes us in that direction. Human values. And remove from us, tear away from us. What makes us revert to the condition of wild animals and predators? Let's take this process seriously. We will have to reform our character. Believe that this is possible. Otherwise, we will be stuck in place for the rest of our lives. It is possible to learn to like. Start focusing on the beautiful things in life more often. More often, pursue honorable acts and beautiful works of art. It is essential, because then we start to believe in humanity again. We once again believe in our ceiling of possibilities, and we once again have a righteous aspiration. Today, I was just talking to my husband that when any negative event affects me, I stop everything and go watch ballet, or listen to opera, or read poetry. Today, we did it together. This is essential. I need to remember, no, forget it. Erase it. This is what being human is. These are shadows that are obscuring. Human nature, this is what it means to be human. Great men, acts of justice. Great men who brought wonderful things to humanity. Gotta keep that in mind and focus here, because otherwise, before long, I will be so deep in the trash that I start to identify with it, and then I cannot help anyone else. So purify and shape our character, and nourish ourselves just as we nourish the body. Feed the soul with what is healthier and makes us grow. That most restores in us hope in the human condition. Set a purpose and guide our daily journey towards it. Also, this is not really new. I have been telling you all along. What is my life's purpose? It is a good time to reflect on it. What is the meaning of my life? Purpose is the trendy word to talk on meaning of life, which is timeless. Where am I headed with all this? Who do I want to be when I reach the end of the line? Remember that purpose, the meaning of life, has to be in the realm of being. The realm of having, the realm of going, or returning, all this is a consequence. It is not the cause. The causes are always in the realm of being. What do I want to be? There at the end of the line. What do I want to be? What kind of person do I want to become? What mark do I want to leave on the world? Settle, write this down, because memory is very fleeting. Don't rely on remembering this. Write down the kind of person I want to become. When all this is over and we measure our days, manage our days with this in mind. Every day I am going to check if I am moving in that direction. If it goes in the opposite direction, let me see what is pulling me in that direction. Let me create a strategy so that tomorrow I can make up for lost time. Manage life in relation to your sense of purpose. Just like any employee of a company, in relation to the company's goals. You have to do it because otherwise the company will go under. Everybody knows this doesn't work. If everyone forgets the company's goals, you do not get anywhere. And what happens when you forget your goals in life? The goal of life is always in the realm of being. I'm going to bring more awareness into my days. I am going to start managing my days, always keeping my sense of purpose as the measure of my life, what I want to be when all this comes to an end, what I want to have built within myself and in the world around me. What else? It is crucial. Wrap up the previous year's accounts, from previous years in all aspects. That is pretty similar to what we talked about earlier, isn't it? Make peace with the past. Closing the accounts even means the physical accounts. If we can close it, that's good, right? The financial part. If not, that is okay. We will do what is best. Balance, review our financial life. That this is also part of it and is important too. Let's not be naive. It is all part of it. The way we manage our energies too. And financial life is a form of energy. But to delve into the psychological realm, settle accounts with the past, of not being traumatized. Reflect on past events and say, well, it was tough, but what could I learn from it? I learned. Fine. Now I discard. The shells, keeping only the essence. The people, everything. Take a look and say, well, everyone did the best they could. Of course, that me and others. Our best at that moment was mediocre. Now everyone goes their own way, and I will go mine. Let me untangle this knot and move on. Let karma handle the consequences. Karma, for those who are not familiar, is nature's cause and effect game. Whoever created causes, let them move towards their effects in the best possible way. I will walk my own path. Untie knots, settle the accounts in all aspects, so that you can truly position yourself, renewed in front of the present, and not carrying a burden before the present and the future. What else? As a highly recommended precondition for the new cycle, train yourself to be less affected by external circumstances. This is so very important. You have to understand the following. Nature does not leave a vacuum, but it is also not possible for two bodies to occupy the same place in space. That is physics. That is impossible, right? So what is inside of us right now? The echoes of external events. Almost everything that is inside of us at this moment, it is an echo of external events. Then you say, oh, I have no inner life. I have no spirituality. I have no capacity for symbolic vision. You don't have it because there is no room, my friend. There is no space to put anything there. If you start letting life take care of itself, Follow your cycle. Trust that life knows what it is doing. And let life do what it wants. Well, life brings what it wants and does whatever it wants. I will do my part, but to do that, it'll fill those spaces with other things. Life is doing what it wants. Now it's my turn. I am an agent of life too, because when you create that emptiness inside of you, that space begins to be filled by something else. Here comes the voice of silence. It is not so silent anymore. And you start to hear. Here it comes, just like we discussed in a recent lecture. The blooming of the golden flower. So it can bloom and start casting its glow inside of you, because you have made space for these things. Why don't I have an inner life? Because the inside is all occupied by the outside life. Just for that, if we pause, take a look at our lives and say, I trust you, life. Do your job. I will accept and walk with you. Now let me do what belongs to me. I am going to turn inward to fill the space of my mind, of my emotions. What am I going to fill? Begin to realize who I am, what my aspirations are, what makes me happy, what fulfills me, what I would like to do for the world. What is the message that I would like to give to humanity? What is the best I can produce? What makes my heart full? That is blooming the golden flower. The voice of silence starts to be heard. I will stop letting the outside world dictate my life. Of the outside world inside me, I am going to empty myself a bit. This is essential. There is a concept in Stoicism called amor fati. It is complex. Later, Nietzsche revisited it. It is a complicated concept because it is not just trust. That life knows what it is doing, but loving what life brings you. But tough things can't be loved. My dear, are the people you love really that easy? Isn't there a moment when living together becomes challenging? We are all duals. Is everyone you love perfect? And you still love them, right? Sometimes things are tough. Sometimes things are gentle. But the people we live with are like that too. And we know how to love. We know how to consider all these aspects and still say, I love. Embrace life. Trust it. It just brought me something strange. Let me see what I can do with it. It must be contemplating something because there is a great intelligence that orders the universe. It is not chaos, it is cosmos. Somehow these energies are wanting something from me, are proposing something new to me. Let me see what this is all about. Let me see how I can engage, because now I know who I am. Therefore, I can take who I am and use it to interact with the world around me. Because before, I was nothing. I was a reflection of the outside world. There was nothing inside. An absolute solitude, the complete absence of being in my own company. So, it is essential that we give this credit of trust to life. As we have already said, let's empty ourselves. Let life do its part and we do ours. There is a phrase here that I made sure to bring to you from that great philosopher of the 20th century. That is my grandmother, Dona Julieta, that she said the following, leave life alone. It knows what it's doing. Go do what is yours. I suddenly remembered her saying that. With that feisty little face, leave it, girl, leave life alone. Life knows what it's doing, girl. You will do what is yours. Wow, what a wonderful phrase. It's a shame my grandmother did not know the Stoics. She would have really liked them. Well, a Christmas present. We are in the season, right? I bet you're already thinking about Christmas gifts. Let me propose you a very original, an interesting Christmas present desired deeply, and wanting and committing to work for it, for everyone's growth. Mine, everyone around me, and as many people as I can reach. In other words, my Christmas gift to humanity will be, look, I commit with every last strand of my hair. To do good, indeed, certainly, and so that the best I can will benefit some people. If I grow, it will benefit a little more. But I will always be on the edge, doing the best I can. For you to grow, for me to grow together. So that we can come out of this a little bigger than we went in. There is a prayer by Helena Blavatsky that is truly beautiful. Just a little piece of it is something I adopted as a personal rule. She says that in your prayers, you should always ask for humanity to evolve, even if it is just a small step towards your spiritual growth. I don't know if you pray. I respect those who are theists and those who are not, or if you seek something from nature. But the truth is, having this desire deep in your heart, as a state of constant prayer, may humanity take steps forward, even if it is just a small step, towards your spiritual evolution, and that I can contribute in this way, with a little hair floating around in the air, so that I can contribute to this progress. Because if I did that, I was worthy. I was human. I made a difference. It is an excellent gift. Imagine committing to this. For next year, take it easy. It is not for your entire life. Practice next year. Then practice on one and walk on the other. Reflect and gather the lessons you have learned. This is another important aspect. Well, I am getting rid of it all. Not everything. I am tossing out some objects out of my house that are no longer useful. I have to take a closer look. I cannot just grab a box, bang, throw it in the trash. Open it. See if there's anything in there I can use. Something that might be useful to anyone if it's not useful to me. I can't go around dismissing something without knowing if it has any value. So you don't toss out the past before taking a look at what you should take out of the box. Reflect and learn from those things you have not reflected on yet. Return to those points that hurt. These are exactly the ones you didn't accept to learn from them because they hurt. So you put a mental tag on it. I don't accept to learn from this. Remove that tag. Go back there and say, I will learn from you, and you will heal and you will move forward. That is, to reflect on the lessons learned over the year. Put that into the context of your life as a whole. That was what I needed to grow with right now. Nature offered me what I needed. Did I take advantage of it? What do I gain from positive elements that I have not seen so far to keep growing? Remember the spiral, passing through this same point at a higher level of consciousness. If we don't learn from the facts of life, we are just going in circles. There is no spiral. When they look at your Christmas tree, which is a big spiral, that funnels to that star, the star of wisdom, the light of wisdom. Remember yourselves. Am I being a spiral? That is a symbol. It is a symbol of Christmas, which means birth. Am I creating my spiral? Am I passing through the points with a little more awareness each time? Or am I just going around in circles at the base of the tree? I wasn't even supposed to have a tree. I was supposed to draw a circle on the ground. I have no tree inside me. So therefore, it won't have much meaning. Commit to keeping moving, taking responsibility. That is, whatever comes in this new year, we never know. I won't just stand by and wait for someone to bring me answers. Let someone save me. I will keep moving. Inside the stage that suits me, I will do my best to grow with the experience and to help those on the outside to reach these people, even if it is with a very small act. We are already at 7 billion or so, getting close to 8 billion. If everyone did just one small act, we probably wouldn't have any more need. You know it. Stop this illusion of a small and the big. The small is not worth it. What is small and big within the universe? I am tired of hearing those stories that our planet is just fluff, is less than a grain of sand, and it is. So, does that make our planet meaningless? If there is one thing I've always been involved with, I have already mentioned this even in other lectures when I was a teenager. It was that small talk. We are nothing compared to the universe. Look at the stars. We are insignificant. And I was a boring child from when I was 13 or 14 years old. And I kept thinking, could it be that we, because we are small, are insignificant? Does nature work like this? Does it only value what is great? Does it ignore the little ones? So nature is useless. It has no wisdom. Why is size documented? As the saying goes, so does that mean the small things I do won't have value? Of course it will. I can only be inside my apartment. Inside my apartment. As I have said a million times, I can reach out to people in need. I can post messages of faith on my social networks. I can have a basic food basket delivered to some organization. I can do a lot of things. So whatever comes through this door of the future, I will keep moving, doing my best, putting my heart out there, pushing the limits. Because when I am on the move, I prepare myself for what is next, and I do my best to ease the pain of those around me. So I take responsibility. I commit. Come what may, I won't be passive. I will do my best. I will commit myself to making a difference, even though my stage is so narrow. I can barely move, but I will send a smile. Something I will give away. I won't just sit back and wait to receive. Plan for generosity, not just accumulation. It is funny. Next year, I want to buy an apartment, a car. If you want it, go ahead and buy it. If you need it, go ahead and buy it. I am not going to stand here criticizing what you are going to do with a resource that is yours. Do you only plan what you're going to have? Don't you plan what you're going to give away? Plan for generosity. That's part of it. What am I going to do for people this year? What is my 2021 plan to be generous to the world? What am I going to give to people? What? Plan for generosity. Otherwise, it won't happen. There is a very tangible element in planning. When you allocate time to something, it happens. Not it doesn't. I will see if an opportunity comes up. Opportunity does ONT just appear. It is the will that arises. And the will creates opportunity. The rest is just noise. Realize that this is nonsense. This is an excuse for those who don't want to do it. The will arises and then the opportunity follows, like its offspring. Plan for generosity. This is really important. Another fundamental element. You can see that I'm reaching for things. Increasingly transcendent, but at the same time, increasingly significant. I am heading over to the field of causes to see if the effects, if they can come to life down here, because I have already set the causes in motion. Because that's how it works in the universe. It is all about cause and effect. Even Newton's laws talk about it. It is cause and effect. So I am delving deeper and deeper into the realm of causes. For this coming year, here is a good advice. Understand unity and embrace it. Realizing how amazing unity is within my body. When all the cells work together for my health, when some people make up excuses not to work, look, it is pretty risky, isn't it? How beautiful unity is, because every cell, being what it is, works for the well-being of a single body. Look at a forest, the number of species that exist there. That fit together in a complete way that work for the good of that ecosystem. Perfectly integrated. Look how fantastic unity is. The unity of colors that creates visual beauty. The unity of sounds that creates music. The unity of human beings that creates fraternity and harmony. See how unity is a reflection of God. Look how unity is perhaps the most noticeable attribute of God that we have. So do you know what I am going to do? I will not only love God as an abstract concept, I will love his attributes. I will love unity. Because if I love unity, I will engage myself to promote it, just like I love my son, and I commit to promoting his health, satisfaction, and happiness. I love unity, and I will make a serious effort to promote it. That means within my character formation. What divides? Hate speech. What divides? It is going to be the opposite of my path, because I am a serious, conscientious contributor and truly committed to unity. I will learn to love unity. What a wonderful proposal. You have no idea what could be behind it, of what can be born from there. I will always be faithful to unity. I will not let anything make me betray it. Like all the things and beings that I truly love. Who could convince me to betray my son? Do you realize there is a heart loop? That there is nothing that will convince me to do so. I will love unity deeply, and nothing will lead me to betray it. I will work. And this last proposal is very powerful, and perhaps the most important of all. I will work for God's purposes. Okay, I don't believe in God, but I respect that. Put nature, put what you believe in. I will put myself in the place of this being, which is the totality, which is the unity, for a few seconds, with my limitations, with themselves. I go there and I will think, what a being of this type, whether it be God, whether it be nature, or whatever name you prefer to give it, would like for the universe, would like for the cosmos, to understand. Put yourself in their shoes. I would like beings to become more and more themselves. That is, for human beings to become more human, to realize their best potential. Of values, virtues, wisdom, which is a gift of gold given to them to take their rightful place in nature. that they would increasingly promote unconditional respect to humanity and to all manifested beings, that it would be a factor in promoting unity through the attributes they possess of will, of love, of intelligence. Well, this being must want things like that, I imagine. At least that's as far as I can see. I will commit to this. God's purposes are my priority. Organize your life like this. What power? What power? There is a philosophical saying that goes, that man with God is the majority, or man with nature is the majority, but we are always moving in the opposite direction of the purposes of nature, of the purposes of God. That is why we feel so lonely, and we feel that the world is against us. Why? We don't work for the world. Make these purposes a priority in your life, and you will see how things turn out. These are some small pieces of advice for those of you who are facing the year 2021, to encourage deep reflection on this. For sure, this I can guarantee you and put my name on it. Has no downsides. It will only help you grow. Oh, but it is a lot. All right. Commit to it and take the steps you can take. Because if you don't commit, you won't take a step. Commit yourself, all right, the distance is great. But as I committed myself, I took 2 or 3 steps. It is a lot. When so many stand still, or when so many go back, taking 2 or 3 steps in a year is a lot. If you don't commit, you may retreat. Or maybe you will get stagnant. So think about it. Jot it down, reflect on it. Carry this into your new year. It definitely has no downsides, but there are whispers in the 4 corners of the universe. An echo which resonates through the 4 corners of the universe saying, come, this is the way. Because I am not speaking just for myself. I am speaking for the tradition of people who knew how to live and who left their wisdom behind. Therefore, you are definitely working for the purposes of the universe when you commit to them, when you think beyond just the comfort and pleasure of your own little world, and you blow it up and expand it so that it becomes the size of God's purposes. I wish this for you as a Christmas gift and as a wish for the new year. A big hug to everyone.